Am I the jerk for not paying for someone else's spot? I, an 18-year-old male, have a group of friends consisting of 5 individuals, a mix of females and males. We are all planning to rent an Airbnb for a few days in a popular holiday spot for Halloween. I am responsible for booking it as it was my idea. Most of us have saved up a decent amount of money and want to book a nice place. I found a really good one for 6 guests. I shared it in the group chat and asked if everyone was happy with it and ready to send me the money so I could reserve it. However, one friend, an 18-year-old female, asked if she could pay me back in a couple of weeks when her student loan comes through. I said no, and she asked why, knowing I had comparatively more savings. For context, she does not work, and I am unsure if she ever has. When we go out, we all pre-drink at someone's house, and while everyone else brings their own, she takes a little from everyone else. When we are out, she finds random men to buy her drinks. I am not judging her lifestyle, just noting that she likes to borrow. I explained that I am not comfortable with it and that we all want to book this as early as possible to secure a good place because it is a popular spot. Ideally, we want to book it any day now. There is also another place available that is a bit smaller, with a maximum of 5 people. It is of the same quality, has a hot tub, and is a little cheaper. She suggested that I book it now, and if she does not pay me back in exactly a couple of weeks, I could cancel and get the other place since they offer a full refund. However, I mentioned that there is a chance that this place and other decent houses might be gone by then. There is already not a huge selection left, especially for somewhere really nice. She accused me of being a fake friend because there is clearly no trust between us. She kept asking why I do not trust her over and over again. I tried to explain that I am just not happy with the arrangement, but she would not accept that and said I was being awful to her. I still have not made a decision or booked anything because this all happened last night. Don't loan money to friends and family you're not willing to part with. The biggest red flag is that she's fighting and demanding you lend her money. The entitlement is off the charts. If by a certain deadline the payment isn't received from everyone, then book the place for the ones who have paid. Book the one for 5 and she's only in if she can pay up front. She can't, so she isn't. Would I be the a-hole for going by the name of my high school bully? This is a weird one. I, an 18-year-old female, have recently realized that I am transgender. I am in the very early days of this revelation. I have suspected it for a while but have only just now come to terms with it. The only things I have done are start a list of potential names and have started an escape plan if needed, as I live in a very conservative Christian Southern community. In my early years of high school, I had a best friend, Vanny, a 17-year-old female. We got along great and it was purely platonic. We were very fast friends, as we just kind of clicked and had very similar backgrounds. About a year later, she stopped talking to me and started being really mean to me. She would walk away from me when a mutual friend left for class, approach someone we shared a study hall with, and tell them that since the mutual friend had left, she no longer had anyone to hang out with. When I jokingly said, "I'm offended," she glanced out of the corner of her eye at me and said with no emotion whatsoever, "You should be." After a few months of similar treatment, such as a group of our friends talking and Vanny inviting everyone in the conversation to her house but me, I eventually distanced myself from the whole friend group. She never gave me a straight answer as to why she did these things and claimed to not remember them when I confronted her, saying that the people she invited hadn't been to her house in years. In recent times, my current best friend, who had a similar experience with Vanny, said that Vanny did very similar things to her. Fast forward several years and I have graduated high school. I want to try out some new names, and one that I have wanted to use is Vanny's name. I have always really liked it, and I always felt something when I hear it. I assumed it was just the memories of what she did and wanting the old times back, but upon further reflection, I remember feeling that when I first heard her name. Maybe that means I wanted it to be my name. No one has told me their opinion on this as I have not told anyone, but I feel somewhat weird about it. Is it immoral to choose names that belong to people you know? Especially ones that have had a big influence on your life? I am aware this is really weird. I still see Vanny occasionally as I volunteer at my old high school, but if I ever transition or go by a different name, Vanny or not, I would never see her or anyone else from my old community again anyway, except my current best friend. I am not saying I would fully change my name to hers, but it is a name I want to try, and I am not going to try to impersonate her or anything weird like that. So, would I be the jerk? I think you are not in the wrong here, but it does seem like a weird choice considering the emotional baggage tied to that name. Even if you never plan to see her again, people will hear about it, and it will probably get back to her. She might assume you're obsessed with her or trying to be her. It seems like you're willing to look past the crappy treatment, but that negativity might bubble up and ruin the name for you. Am I the jerk for ghosting my friend after they were kicked out of my house? Up until a month ago, my friend, who was 18 years old and non-binary, was living with me, an 18-year-old male, for nearly a year. My parents and I took them in because their home life was very toxic. We wanted to help them by giving them a safe space to finish high school. My parents had a few conditions for them to stay. They had to quit smoking marijuana. They needed to pay rent, which was roughly $200 per fortnight. They had to attend school and graduate. They also had to participate in the household. Whenever anything in their life went wrong, they would relapse. It was a constant cycle of relapsing and then promising not to relapse again. One time, they said that they would never smoke again if I would do it with them, and I did. They did it again a month later. It got to the point where they would go back to their old house just to smoke and lie to me about it. I had to ask their boyfriend where they were. I even went as far as to lie about it to my parents. They were also consistently late on rent payments. They had 3 different sources of income. One from their parents, one from their job, and one from a youth allowance from the government. Yet they were always broke because they spent money on things like unnecessary Ubers or alcohol. As for attending school, it was fine for a few months, but then they started to skip again. At some points, they would tell my parents that they were going to school, but they would just not go. When their marks naturally started to fall, I felt like I had to help them study. Their room was always filthy. They would leave food around for days and only clean it up when my parents asked them to. One time, when my mother was cleaning their room, she found ants and half-eaten food down the side of their bed. They would have to be harassed to do any chores at all and would often talk back about it. About a month ago, my parents and I had finally had enough. They had gone to their old house and relapsed. I was already so angry at them, and I felt like they had used us. When we had the conversation about what to do with them, I did not try to convince my parents to let them stay like I normally did. I felt so drained by them. I felt like I had given everything I could, and they had not cared about any of it. To me, they had used me and my parents, and I felt hurt. I knew that they would be upset by this, and I felt awful that I was sending them back to their old abusive house, but I had given everything. For a month, I did not want to talk to them. I did not want to even explain why I left because I knew that the second I did, I would crumble and immediately rush to their side. I am coming to this subreddit because I feel awful about leaving without an explanation. I did not know how to say, sorry for leaving you when you were at your worst, but I am still angry at you, so please never talk to me again without hurting them. And I was scared. Am I the asshole? This post has been removed because it violates Rule 11, which prohibits discussions about cutting contact, ghosting, or breaking off friendships. Please review the rules and fakes linked above and message the mods before trying to resubmit. Resubmitting without approval will result in a ban, no exceptions. For a list of other subs that might accommodate your discussion, check out r.finderd. Am I the jerk for not prioritizing my mother? My mother and I have always had a terrible relationship. She abused me when I was a child. I was sent to live with my father. When I was 10 years old, she had another child, my brother, whom I love endlessly. She was on drugs and in the streets, so I, with the help of aunts and uncles, raised my brother. He thought I was his mother as he got older. Of course, he grew to know the truth. He is 27 years old, lives with her, pays no bills, contributes in no way, and yes, he works. I am a mother of 2, freshly divorced, on disability, so I am unable to work, and just getting my bearings. I have come to understand that the person my mother used to be, she is no longer. I do not have any hate or disdain toward her. We have a good relationship for the most part. Amends have been made. Here's my problem. Every time she has a problem, she bothers and bugs me. She has a boyfriend who just proposed and a grown live-in son. Why are you calling me for help when they are there? Example, she calls me 8 times while I am in class because she does not feel well. I ask her for symptoms so I can help determine if she needs to go to urgent care. She complains and complains. I ask, do you want to go to urgent care? She says yes, come get me. I ask, where are your man and your son? Her reply is that they are in the room. Then why are you harassing me? They both drive and they are both competent. Why are you asking me to drive 40 minutes to take you 30 minutes away to urgent care when you have 2 able-bodied adults right under you? Example, she calls because my brother had used all of the toilet paper and drank all of the water. I ask her if she has said something to him. She responds no and asks me not to say anything. She then asks me to bring her some water and toilet paper. No, just no. Your grown son should be replenishing what he used. Why am I responsible for that? Why cannot one of them go get some or take you? Example, her prescription needs to be picked up. My brother works next to the pharmacy. She is mad because I do not offer to drive 40 minutes to pick up a prescription that is 5 minutes from her home and 30 seconds from my brother's job, which he is at. Am I the asshole? I just want to say no. I do not mind doing anything but utilize your resources, my goodness. Note, I want to clarify that I have been with my father since the age of 11 and on my own since 19. My mother was not a contributing factor in my life in most capacities. Even so, I love her, and the past has no bearing on why I do not feel like always helping her. You are not in the wrong here. This is called learned helplessness, and it's a form of emotional abuse. She has a boyfriend and an adult son she lives with, so there's no reason you should be the one to shoulder everything. Set boundaries, tell her to ask the people she lives with for help, and stick to your guns. She needs to learn that you have your own life and responsibilities. Am I the jerk for not shaking my dad's girlfriend's hand? I, a 21-year-old female, my 25-year-old brother, and our 53-year-old mother were out at a restaurant to celebrate her birthday. We sat outside the restaurant in the porch area. The place is located in a busy area, and we were able to see many people walking by. As we were sitting, I saw a man and a woman walking in our direction. The first thing I noticed was the woman wearing a short, tight black dress. The second thing I noticed was that the guy looked like my dad. I do not have the best eyesight, but I did have my glasses on, and I was 90% sure that it was my dad. My brother immediately noticed him. My dad made eye contact with us, and that is when my mom noticed him as well. For context, my parents have been divorced for a year now. The divorce was messy and was one of the worst parts of my life that I have had to go through. Now, however, my parents are cordial with each other, but they do it for the sake of my brother and me. My dad and the woman came over, and I experienced emotions that I had never felt before. My entire body was trembling. She proceeded to introduce herself, but it went over my head. She then shook my mom's hand and shook my brother's hand. When she turned to me, I just stared at her and did not shake her hand. She proceeded to say, "Oh, okay, I see," in a very unpleasant tone. The entire time my dad was talking to my mom, who was being extremely nice and friendly, this lady had her hands all over him. I could not even look at them, and my brother was not uttering a single word. My dad then ended the conversation by waving dramatically and saying, "All right, my Smiths." For more context, my mom kept my dad's last name because she is a teacher and felt like it would be easier for her students and coworkers if she kept the same name. We found that statement to be rather condescending and weird. I had spoken to my dad on the phone earlier that day and told him about our plans to eat at that place. He knew that we were going to be there, and he knew that he could potentially run into us. I had not spoken to my dad yet. However, minutes after they left, he sent my brother a text containing the emoji with one eye peeking through its hands. I feel like if she had a bit more decorum and did not act the way she did, then I would have been a bit nicer to her. My dad, at the very least, could have just continued walking. That is what all three of us wished he would have done in that situation. I obviously have no control over my parents' dating lives. I just do not particularly want to have any involvement with who they see unless it gets very serious. I have made this very clear to both of my parents, and they are both aware of how serious I am about this. Am I the antagonist? You did nothing wrong here. It was incredibly selfish and thoughtless of your dad to tarnish your mom's birthday celebration by showing off his new girlfriend. Anyone who says you're the asshole probably hasn't been in that particular situation. Your dad obviously showed up on purpose with some point to prove, and you don't have to maintain a relationship with him just because he's your dad, especially if he's a bad person. Am I the jerk for wanting to bring my child with me for a round of golf? I need your input on a stupid argument my wife and I had yesterday. Essentially, I was invited by 3 friends to play a casual round of golf. By no means are we good, lucky to break 100, but we all enjoy the game and each other's company. We all would have paid for our green fees and other costs ourselves. I have recently started trying to introduce the game to my son, and I thought it would be cool to bring him along, share a cart with me, and maybe have him hit a few balls in between my shots. I also thought it would allow my wife some well-deserved alone time. When I shared my idea with her, she instantly started to get annoyed. She thought that by my son being there, I was somehow breaking some social understanding with my buddies, that it was a guys-only outing, and that I was being selfish for considering this. I was completely blindsided by her reaction and couldn't understand why it was so triggering to her. She kept saying that it was inappropriate to assume it was okay to bring our son along when the others weren't bringing their kids, and that I was invited to the outing and it's inappropriate for me to have our son there. I told her that I would have run it by the other 3 friends first if it was cool, and that I was once the kid joining a round of golf with my dad way back when, and it was no big deal since it wasn't during an official tournament. She got even more upset that I didn't see her point and that I was playing dumb and gaslighting her. She said that the outing was clearly an adults-only thing, and that while the others in the group would probably be okay with it, or at least tell me it's cool, it was wrong of me to assume it was even a possibility. I told her that I completely understand if it was a sit-down dinner or a more formal social event that was clearly adults only, I wouldn't even consider this and understand and see her point. But it was just 3 dads playing around on a Sunday morning. Her point is that since I was invited to play a round of golf and there were no other kids there, it would be wrong of me to bring my son, like I would be messing up the dynamic somehow. So Reddit, am I the antagonist? It sounds like this was just a casual golf outing with friends, not a formal event. Bringing along his son could have been a nice way to bond and give his wife some alone time. If he cleared it with his friends first, there shouldn't be an issue. Sometimes it's important to balance family time and friends time, and this seemed like a good compromise. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.